Hey everyone, today we're going to look at this 2D civilization simulation I made. It's less of a game and more something cool you can watch, but that can change if there's enough interest. Link in the description below for free if you want to check it out. On the start screen you can change the map size, generate new maps, change the number of starting nations and where they'll start, the technology they start at, whether they should fill the gaps automatically or require them to settle empty tiles, and if you want to allow revolts. Starting with all tribes, we can zoom in and see they're just the tribe and its leaders, or generals. They control the number of armies the nations can have. You may also spot the strategic resources scattered on each tile, but the tribes do not yet have the technology to use them. Switching to the culture map mode, we can see that they each have their own culture. Each revolting country inherits its culture from its parent, therefore, the culture is used to track which nations have a common origin. After some time, we see the number of political entities start to drop. While they started peaceful, some tribes have turned violent, carving out the first tribal confederations, though for now they are highly unstable and prone to revolts. In doing so, they have also spread their culture, eradicating all the unique cultures around them. Armies require resources, which often requires trade. If a tile cannot find the resources in their capital, they'll buy it from the cheapest seller when travel costs are accounted for. If they arrive too late and the good has already been sold, the trader will vanish. If successful, they take the good back to its own capital for resale or redistribution. As food production technology improves, we start to see larger armies clash, and bigger population centres represented by the changing sprites for the city, from tribal huts to the first urban centres. Clicking on a nation will allow you to see additional information, like who they are at war with, their finances, and what prices they are selling goods at on the international marketplace. Here we see the first use of cavalry in the form of chariots, and the first siege engines. Even in this early stage, we see three standout cultures expanding rapidly, and have become more technologically advanced than their stagnant neighbours. Skipping forward, we know how the first settled civilization. This allows them access to workers who can build farms and factories to better exploit natural resources. As they are more stable, we can now watch as a nation interacts with its neighbours. But alas, being beset on all sides by rebellions and enemies, the last city finally falls. Our settled civs have more powerful units of iron. They divert more of their population to settled life than tribes do. This tribe has taken advantage of this to regularly attack any civilizations of its culture that urbanize. Being rich from looting also allows them to field a huge army. The three cultures have taken their own different paths. These ones are urban and very warlike with large armies. These on the other hand have less resources and field much smaller armies but focus more on tech. And these are still being suppressed by the powerful tribe. Switching to tech map mode shows just how far behind they become and how far ahead the blue culture has become. The pink and green cultures now border each other and are fighting all along their contact point. The tribe has also migrated west with a huge army. And while that's allowed the green culture to finally urbanize in its heartland, they have managed to crash right into the pink culture, taking its heartland in lightning campaigns. Meanwhile, the blue culture is far in the lead technologically, entering the early modern era. With limited resources, the nations here have gone full quality, with smaller armies battling each other on tech, not numbers. As the trade routes mature, we see an interesting pattern emerge. For one, we see that they have developed into trade-focused city-states. Being in more shielded areas, they have come to focus their population more on traders as opposed to army units. Another pattern we see is the exploitation of the remaining tribes, for they sell resources for cheap, or they have no use for them. However, it is at this point we ran into our first issue. We see the blue culture nations have started to field larger armies. This is due to them needing coal in order to advance up the tech tree, but they lack access to coal, with the nearest coal deposits all the way out here, and they lack the technology to mine it. So I made a small tweak. Nations can mine resources as long as someone's willing to buy it, even if they lack the technology to use it themselves. At first, steel production is highly inefficient and uses a lot of coal, so at first, only the most elite units are equipped with it. As steel production becomes more efficient, it becomes possible for the nations to make a surplus supply for export, as the purple ingot you see carried by the traders. This allows them to have whole armies equipped with steel. Here we see a symbiotic relationship. This less developed nation sells stuff for cheap to the more developed nations, and in return is flooded with cash to maintain a huge army. Soon we see the development of the first planes and cannons. We also see the more widespread introduction of guns. The next big leap comes with the discovery of black gold, oil, allowing for better planes and the first tanks. However, something seemed a little off when I noticed that single knights were destroying entire modern armies. And the trend of these backward nations defeating and pushing into the higher tech civs seemed wrong. Turns out, the progression was indeed bugged, so after a certain point, they got weaker instead of stronger. To ensure this didn't radically change how the simulation runs, I started it again. 50 years in and we see one group is taking the technological lead. Even with the changes, we can still see a combination of tribes in the southern ice fields with city-states and empires as we get closer to the equator. The states on the mainland have developed an army composition mainly of cavalry, with archers for support and the odd siege unit, while the small island with less resources have infantry-heavy armies, and notably are still in the Iron Age, even as parts of the mainland enter the modern age. Much of the mainland is still in the late Middle Ages, but now at least better tech win wars. As they progress onto the final stage, I noticed one last issue. Given the unpredictability of trade and the complex supply chains needed to make electronics, even in this test world of only high-tech nations, most lack access. The final change was to make the trade a contract. As long as the seller exists when the trader arrives, it will provide the reserved trade good. After 40 years, we see whole armies using electronic tech, and a boom in trade. Thanks for watching. You can play this for free using the link in the description. Let me know if any bugs you find and follow me on Patreon for the latest updates.